Okay, officially into virgin territory with this show, and, well, it wasn't that much of a yeah moment when I was proven right, but I was not expected to be proven right that quickly. But at the same time, that makes sense. I mean, like, for crying out loud, the entire Unamind Caliph ruling family was about murdered in a similar fashion, if I recall correctly. So, yeah. Good move, Martin. That was a great move because, of course, this is taken from his third book. Right. But yeah, that was a good season. It's getting a little bit harder for me to remember the names of a couple of the newer people, but I can still remember the relation to everyone, and I finally remembered Sansa's name. Ugh, that's a fail if you ask me. So, jumping into the main storylines, Daenerys' storyline. Again, not that much happens, but of course, now she's going from just having a group of like 20 people helping her, but now she's got the army or devotion of multiple cities behind her, and she is, of course, in the Rose area now, or she's to the cities that are directly opposite the Rose, so people there know of those cities. So word is definitely going to get back to them that she's on the move, but that might not really matter because as the Night's Watch is doing, warning everyone about the White Walkers, and that they're not just a myth, they actually exist, along with the fact that many of the wildling tribes have now gotten through the wall because well, of course, there has to be ways for people to get through the wall, because, Sam was able to get back through it the complete opposite way that he left, but of course we saw Snow and a few other people climb the wall, which is possible, though it relies on luck, and it has to be when it's all snowed over like that. That's the only way that they can get away with it. No, I don't really know that much about climbing, but I've seen one or two documentaries about climbers that were involved in tough accidents, so it's no easy feat, even if you are tied, because as one of the documentaries stated, the rope, even though it's meant to save you, can just as easily kill you. Right, and then, yeah, they're talking about Snow. It's nice that he was able to get a more personal storyline and try to form that relationship with that chick, and there was genuine feelings between them because, of course, he took her as a prisoner, but then she's able to evade him, but she realizes there's just something different about him, and yeah, he was able to inform the Wildlings tribes that, yeah, the Night's Watch is in the area, but then they realize there's a greater threat, but of course they're still trying to get rid of the Night's Watch as well, because the wildlings, they know the White Walkers are magical creatures or undead, whatever term you want to use, and they're the ones that truly have claim to that area. In fact, they have more of a claim to it than anyone from Westeros does. But then he comes to realize that these people are out purely for revenge, and even though he disagrees with a lot of principles of the Night's Watch, at the same time he's still part of Westeros and doesn't want innocents destroyed, so he breaks tide and heads back to the Watch, even though it's not going to be that easy, because they're going to know that he didn't exactly abandon them, but what he did was so close that, you know, but then again, if they are willing to welcome Sam back because most of the commanders are dead now and all that's left is the relative of the old Targaryen king, maybe. We'll have to see how rational these people think because, of course, you gotta remember this is supposed to be representative of a Middle Age society, and there was all this talk about honor and blah blah blah, even though honor and family name was still a common thing all the way up until like about the 1800s, because Sherlock Holmes brings up some of this stuff. Right. But it's the wall situation that's going to be far more immediately dangerous for Westeros and Daenerys, because it's easily going to take her another season before she's in a position to actually start attacking or sending word that she's coming, that kind of a thing. Because those dragons, well, I think they're growing faster than typical Dragon Bit seems to work. They're nowhere close to really attacking. Yes, they set, like, I don't know, 3 different people aflame in this season, but there needs to be more than that. She's got almost enough people behind her now, but if she has those dragons, then she's definitely got enough. We'll have to see how that goes. Then, Robb Stark and what happened to him, well, yeah, you did break your word, dude, and that guy seized a chance to take control of the North area and then continue the fight on his own, and it makes sense that he'd want to get it. Sucks, but it makes sense. And we've got plenty of main characters that we can afford to lose a couple at this point. So, yeah. Although that is a bummer for Arya, because she was that close to getting away from the Hound and, being with family again, and now all you've got left is 4 Stark children, 2 of whom are effectively prisoners, and 2 of them are way too young to do anything, really, about anything. So, gonna be interesting to see what they do, but the Hound's made it clear that even though he doesn't like Arya, he's not going to do anything bad to her. But the question is, what is he going to do now? Because they had a common goal in this season, which is now kaput. Although, of course, Arya, what she really wanted was safe passage for herself and her 2 friends, but she knows the one that isn't Gendry, Robert's bastard son. She knows the one that isn't Gendry, he's gonna be fine. He'll just live an ordinary life now. But that's all he wanted anyway, so that's fine. Gendry, he was obviously imprisoned by Robert's non-gay brother, Lady Odin. I'm gonna have to check on him once I'm done with this video. But obviously the general guy who's been at this for a really long time now, multiple generations, he knows things that many other people wouldn't, lets him go, but then uses the Night's Watch's warning as banter to save his life, and interestingly, the Fire Priestess does do it. So, it's going to be interesting to see now, because she knows it's not all about sorcery. There's going to have to be some genuine cooperation and just muscle against muscle, that kind of a thing. So, we're going to see some more from this character, though, of course. All she is interested in is getting Robert's non-gay brother onto the throne. She doesn't care that much about everyone else, but at the same time she knows if there's no kingdom for you to win once this is over, this will have been effectively for nothing. So that's why she's prioritizing what's going on in the North, because like I said in Season 1, it's the nobles against the nobles, but the real fights are beyond the wall and beyond the sea. That's what they really need to focus on, but of course, they won't. Right. So, anything else to mention about Robert's non-gay brother? I can't remember the guy's name, unfortunately, so that's just how I'm referring to him. I don't think there's anything weird to say about that. Theon? Well, barely anything happened with him the whole season. He's just getting tortured by, some high-ranking guy's bastard, and they got a plan for him, but you gotta remember, this is just one part of the 3rd book. They decided to split it up, I guess, which doesn't necessarily have to be a bad thing. Because, yeah, that storyline is going to be more coming from him, in essence. And then Theon's family, well, it's nice to see that her sister does care for him, at least in part, even though her behavior in the prior season would have indicated that she doesn't, but she realizes it's not just about making our presence known. We want to be viewed as equals here, because she knows they don't have enough fight behind them to take over all of Westeros, and even then, they've already got their own territory. Yeah, but if they're viewed as equals, isn't that enough? Well, it should be. So I'm curious to see what they do with her, because we need another prominent female character, because Shae, she can't do that much, and Theon's whore girl, it's obvious Joffrey killed her, so... that's going to be interesting if they do it right. If she just gets murdered while trying to get him, then it would have been for nothing, but with this many main characters, it wouldn't surprise me if they did that. Maybe he would. Because Theon is... Let's face it, he is an accessory. Interesting, I didn't think about that. Okay. Right. King's Landing and all those people. Well, it's going to be interesting to see what they do with the Lord Blythe guy, the one that was constantly after Mrs. Stark, because obviously Mrs. Stark is dead now, so his character is going to be almost useless. Yeah, he was still after Sansa, but they seem to have abandoned that story arc partially through the season, but of course the book isn't over yet, so maybe they'll go back to it. Maybe. And then the bald priest, who Valeris or something like that. I'm torn between this guy because he's playing every side, but you get the idea based on his interactions with Ned Stark and Tyrion that he does care about some stuff, but obviously what can he do? He's just one guy, and also when he describes to Tyrion what happened to him, yeah, you can tell he's scarred by that even to that day. Yeah. So, yeah, this is going to be, I don't want to say interesting, but very opportunistic to see what you can do with that character. The character could easily be a waste, but he could also prove to be very interesting. Right. And then, wait, but is Tyrion Peter Dinklage's character, or is that his father? Sheesh. Right, but anyway. And then Peter Dinklage's character, and how the fact that he had to be forced to marry Sansa when he's in fact in love with Shae, and you can tell based on subtle things that she's doing, she cares about him too. So, I don't know. That character, you fleshed out that story arc almost to the extreme. Next season, you're going to have to severely change what you're going to do with Shae. Yeah, there's only so much longer that she can just be there the way that she is. She's either going to get killed or she's going to leave the area and do something different. That's really all you can do with that character. But you can tell that Peter Dinklage's character really does care about Sansa because just even though he was genuinely drunk during that party, he makes it clear, I'm not going to sleep with you. He's not saying because he's in love with Shae, but you can tell that he does care about her because he was trying to profess to her right before they ended up being forced to marry that he is sorry for her. He can't explicitly say it, both because it's just not how he's conducted himself his whole life, and at the same time, would she truly believe him? She is more inclined to believe him, but she can't, especially once she learns what happened to her mother and oldest brother. Which, kind of think of it, doesn't that make her the oldest Stark? Well, yeah, but because she's a woman, as Ms. Lena Headey's character indicates, that doesn't really mean that much. Yeah. And then Jaime and Lady, I forget her name, but you know who I'm talking about. That was interesting, where they actually did develop mutual respect for each other. They clearly were not expecting that, but when he goes back and he rescues her, like, I'm sure that he wrestled with that for a little bit, but once he committed himself, Elf, he's like, yeah, I'm not turning back here. And it's not so much that I feel sorry for him, but part of me views him differently now. Now, he could easily just become a brat again. He could, because I really don't think that there's that much hope, because you gotta remember, he and Lana Henley's character are really supposed to be the most evil people on this show, because their father, yes, he's the head of the Lannister family, but there's just something different about him. Yes, he's part of the bad group, but at the same time, I don't think he's pure evil. He's just the bad guy by default, I guess. I'm not saying that I think his character is redeemable. He isn't. But you know, when he was putting Joffrey into his place, because Joffrey's like, I am the king, and he goes, a king who must say, I am the king, is not worthy of respect. Because he didn't actually say that, but he makes it clear. It isn't just a claim to power that gets you what you want. It's all about respect, and it's about the armies behind you. What? Because even though Joffrey is keen and everyone acknowledges that, at the same time, what everyone isn't saying is, you're still just a boy. So I want to know what's going to be happening to Jaime now, because he's been through the ringer. Again, I don't think he's redeemable, but maybe there's something. Maybe. Okay, am I forgetting anybody? Well, we finally learned who the Brotherhood of Banners was, but we didn't really learn any more about, Jack, not Joaquin, but the name that's really close to that. We don't know about his group. Okay, if I'm missing any big player in this thing, I'm sorry, but I really think that I covered just about everybody, so, time to move on to the next season. See ya.